So, friction. This is our next chapter, chapter number second in physics. What is friction? Okay, friction is a contact force we discussed in our previous chapter. Okay, so in our previous chapter, friction is only a simple topic, and now in this chapter, in next chapter, the full detail regarding the friction. Okay, so friction is what the force acting along the two surfaces in contact that opposes the motion of one object over the other is called the force of friction or friction forces. Okay, the force acting along the two surfaces in contact that opposite the motion of one object over the other is called force of friction or friction force. Okay. For example, when a wooden block move on the surface of the ground, then the force, if we applied on the wooden block in forward direction, then the force of friction is in reverse direction of the applied force. Okay, so what happened is there is a contact between two surfaces, the wooden block and the ground. So how this friction arises, or what is the cause of the friction? One important thing is that the roughness of the surface can be seen through a microscope in the form of tiny hills and valleys. Okay, if we judge or examine any rough surfaces like this, okay, this is the table and this is the wooden block, so if we examine these surfaces using microscope is what? Microscope is a instrument which is used to see very small or tiny particles, okay, or also tiny some microorganism such as bacteria, virus, yeast. Okay, so if we examine these surfaces in the circle, the surface like this, the surface is like this. Okay, so this surface is valleys in V shape, this is valley, and this surfaces is hills. Okay, this surfaces is hills. Okay, so what is the cause of the friction? The cause of the friction is what? The roughness of the surface can be seen through a microscope in the form of tiny hills and valleys. Okay, and what happened? The interlocking of the two surfaces opposes the motion of one object over another and give rise to frictional forces. Okay, what happened? The interlocking of the two surfaces opposes the motion of one object over another and gives rise to frictional forces. Okay, there is an interlocking between the rough surfaces and the wooden block. Okay, so there is a friction. For example, like this, there is a interlocking between these surfaces. One surface is table and another surface is wooden table. So there is a interlocking between this surface. Okay, so this interlocking is responsible for the causes of friction. Okay, And also one important thing is friction is due to roughness of surfaces in contact. Okay, जितना ज़्यादा रफ सरफेस होगा उतना ही फ्रिक्शन उस सरफेस में या उस ऑब्जेक्ट में जो उसके ऊपर स्लाइड कर रहा है उसमें रहेगा. ओके, एंड हाउ टू मेजर दिस फ्रिक्शन. मेजरिंग फ्रिक्शन, the force of friction can be measured with the help of a spring balance by taking scale readings marked on it at a point where an object just start to move. Okay, the frictional force is measured with the help of spring balance like this. This is a spring balance. Okay, this is a spring balance, and in this hook we will tie a weight. Okay, and this is the pointer, this is spring, and this is a slit like this rectangular shape, and one ring is here. Okay, and this is a metallic case. Okay, so how to measure the friction? Suppose this is a table. Okay, and if you put a wooden block on this surface, okay, and one hook of the spring balance joined with a hook of wooden block, and this is the another ring. Okay, and here is the pointer. Okay, if we want to measure the force of friction, then what if we apply a force here and the wooden block just starts to move, only just start to move, then we can read the force on this spring balance. Okay, let's see. Place a rectangular block on a wooden table having rough surface. Attach a spring balance to its hook and pull the spring balance in the horizontal direction. Pull the spring balance until the wooden block just starts to move. Okay, note the reading on the meter spring balance at this particular point. This gives us the value of frictional force. By this method we can find the force of friction or any object on any surfaces. Okay, so in this way we can measure the force of friction. Okay, and what is spring balance? Spring balance is what? The spring balance works on the principle of stretching of a spring when force is applied. Okay, this is the spring and is stretched when some force is applied on this hook. Okay, and this spring balance is used to measure the force acting on it. Okay, so this is all about the spring balance, how to measure the friction and causes of friction and frictional forces. Okay, in our next video we will discuss on types of friction. Okay, so you have to complete all these things. You must draw this diagram in your copy. This diagram is also in your copy, and this diagram is also in your copy. In the topic causes of friction, you must draw this diagram. In measuring friction, you must draw this diagram, and in spring balance you must draw this diagram. Okay, thank you.